Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Terrible Takes. This is episode 14. Uh, Today, no Holden, no Lucas once again. I'm joined by John Adam once again, and then we have our special guest for this week's episode, Jon-Mical Hill. So, welcome.
Appreciate y'all having me on. I'm excited to be here. For those that don't know me, I'm friends with these two goobers that are on the show here, and looking forward to talking some sports with y'all. Currently a law school student at Mississippi College School of Law. I went to undergrad at Louisiana Tech. My sports team, so that you can hear my biases, I'm a big Texas Rangers baseball fan, Saints fan, and LSU Tigers fan.
Wait. You're an LSU fan? I didn't know that.
I know, no, I know. Shocking. It's shocking.
Well, just as a reminder, as every week, podcast is sponsored by Revival Pizza Company, 8707 Highway 165 in Sterlington, Louisiana. Again, Revival Pizza Company. You guys should go and check them out. Christ first, crust second. So, jumping straight into it this week, we had four divisional games. We had Baltimore versus Houston, which ended in Baltimore winning 34 to 10. We had Green Bay versus the 49ers, which had the 49ers winning 24 to 21. We had the Lions versus the Buccaneers, where the Lions won 31-23, and we had the Chiefs versus the Bills, which the Chiefs won 27-24. So, kind of a chalky week, but also a little surprising. So, John Adam, if you want to give a game that stood out to you, a little mini recap and why.
Um, I'll probably say Baltimore versus Texans. For me, I think it showed that Baltimore is everything. Like obviously, we knew they were a great team and stuff, and they had been proving that throughout the season. Lamar Jackson's playing really well and stuff, but there were some questions going into the game, like with the Texans being as hot as they were, with a rookie quarterback. There's a lot of momentum going into the playoffs for them. And you have Lamar Jackson, who's been skeptical in the past as this quarterback who maybe, he's flashy. He's got that. He's got the athletic ability to do a lot of things on the ground, through the air, whatever they need him to do. But he's fallen short a lot of times when it comes to. I won't say he's like as bad as Dak with the Cowboys as far as not coming up big in big games. But outside of his MVP season, it's he's had good years and he's remained the starting quarterback. There was no question, but it was could Baltimore get to the playoffs and make a run at something more than the first round? Their defense looks great. Their offense looks great. The question was coming into this game with them having the bye, not having that extra week. I kind of said this last week again whenever when the Texans played. It was like, is Baltimore going to come out slacky because they got that week off, or are they going to use it to just propel themselves forward? It can kind of go both ways for teams sometimes, and I think they proved to everybody that they're legit. They're gonna be a contender for the Super Bowl, and they dominated for the most part all second half. I mean, that's where most of their points came from. It was 10-10 ball game, and they just came out firing on all cylinders. Their defense was playing great, got a lot of stops. And ultimately, I think that was probably one of the bigger games. I didn't think it would be that big of a blowout.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what John Adam is saying. I think it was good for Lamar to get a big game under his belt, kind of going into this week. But the one that stood out to me the most was probably the Bills Chiefs game. I think it's just crazy. So I got some stats here on Mahomes, how purely dominant he's been. He had a 130 passer rating and 91 QBR against what's considered to be an elite Bills defense. These stats really blew my mind on his playoff record. So through 16 games, which is essentially obviously just a normal season, he's got 38 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and 106 passer rating, and that's in the playoffs with a 13-3 record in his career, which for most years would be good enough to win MVP in the regular season, but yet he's doing it in the biggest times when we see other stars sometimes struggle. Also, one thing that I think to note is the coaching mismatches, I think, show up more in the playoffs. And it just seems like time and time again, sometimes McDermott's teams, I don't know, they just kind of crumble to some degree. It's like they have these elite rosters, and in my opinion, could be great, but then you can just tell that they're not coaching against. They're not the best. They don't have the best guy on the sideline. In my opinion, you could tell that Andy Reid was clearly a cut above for them, and I think that kind of hurt them. That goes really unnoticed is just how good Pacheco has been. To me, it seems like when the Chiefs are on, a lot of it. He had 15 carries for 97 yards. A lot of their ability to consistently move the ball has been when Pacheco can get going. And I don't think people think of the Chiefs as a team that establishes the run. And obviously, they're one of the few teams that probably can get away with not at times. But I've noticed that, especially it seems like this year, where the receivers they don't have that really reliable deep threat that or somebody like Tyreek who can just bust open any play. It seems like that it's been really helpful recently for them to get back to the ground game some, and I'd be curious to see how that turns out against the Ravens this upcoming week.
Yeah, I completely agree. Before I choose my game, I just want to say that Josh Allen played great, and I don't think he's the reason the Bills lost. There's a lot of people pinning the blame on Mr. Josh Allen, but if you're going to do that, then you got to blame the defense for allowing the Chiefs to score on their first 5 opening drives. And you got to blame, like you said, the coaching was also there, and blame the wide receivers for not catching balls. The game I have is the 49ers versus the Packers. Uh, I honestly thought that this game was going to be like a 15, 20 point blowout. In the podcast, I think I called 37-17 or 37-20. And this was not the case at all. In fact, the 49ers, I don't think, took the lead until the fourth quarter, or maybe they had like a 7-3 lead or a 3-0 lead, 7-3 lead or something like that. But it just seemed like the Packers choked this game. It never really felt like the 49ers were in complete control. I mean, you had 2 missed opportunities to go down and score for the Packers that ended up being 49ers points. So you had an interception that led to a field goal. You had that missed field goal at the end that led to a 49ers touchdown. That's 10 points right there you just gave to the 49ers. Uh, I will say, though, the defense did get lucky. And another thing why I think the Packers choked is the Packers moved the ball all the way down the field of the red zone 3 times, and they only got a total of 6 points. That's unacceptable. I know they're the 7th seed, and oh, well, but it's the playoffs. You're in the red zone 3 times, you come away with 6 points. That's sad. Uh, I think the 49ers did get lucky. Great drives, 2 great touchdown drives. I think were like 85 plus yards. I think one of the touchdown drives like 86 yards, and then obviously the game-winning one was I think close to 80. But my game that stood out to me had to have been the 49ers versus the Packers. Plus
Well,
the 49ers had 0 sacks. They got no
yeah,
pressure on Jordan Love.
I still think the 49ers are a favorite going
Oh yeah,
into the next round and stuff. I think what I'll say the most surprising team for me outside of the Texans, I think the Packers were like a very underrated team. Like they haven't, I don't know, like throughout the regular season, they weren't like, wow, they were young. We knew that they had a very young receiving core. Uh, uh, Jordan Love is young, and he's just now really getting his feet wet as far as being the starting quarterback after all the situation with Aaron Rodgers and stuff going around. And he didn't really, I mean, he touched the field, but it wasn't like at this rate, And he's just now being able to show his ability. It's crazy what the Green Bay Packers have produced in the past and how they continue to do it time and time and time again. Um, and I don't want to say that he's the guy, but I mean, the Green Bay Packers made the playoffs, and you gave a run to one of the best teams in the NFL, and you've looked good the last 2 weeks.
yeah, they definitely switched on some type of flip. I don't know what happened, but Jordan Love was actually falling.
I definitely agree with that. I've kind of somewhat checked out on them middle of the year because it was like I think they were 4-6 at one point, and I mean with a quarterback who we don't know much of, and it didn't seem like that was going to be even close. But they ended up finishing the year with wins against the Rams, Lions, and Chiefs. With the with the Lions and Chiefs games both being on the road. So not only just was it impressive that they made it, but they started beating good teams at the end too. So I think they'll definitely be interesting to go watch going forward. But man, he's young and he gets a pass probably because it was his rookie year, but Jordan Love really played poorly in that fourth quarter. That interception was unacceptable.
Moving on, we have the NFC Championship game and the AFC Championship game. AFC will be at 2 o'clock on CBS, followed by the NFC, which will be 5 o'clock on Fox or 5:30 on Fox. But first game, we have the Chiefs. Well, actually, we have the 49ers versus the Lions. So, John Adam, who do you got winning? Why? What's gonna go down?
So, I said this last week. I've said this before. I still think, even though it was a shaky week for the 49ers, I still think they played a really hot team in the Packers. Like that, I did not expect it to be that close. I can't look past their roster and say they're going to lose this week. I just can't do that. I know the Lions, they are coached really well, and I know that they've got talent as well on the offensive side of the ball. They're pretty good on defense. I can't get off the train that I set against the Eagles, that the week the Eagles played the 49ers. I said it that the 49ers would go all the way and win the Super Bowl. I'm still going to say that. I do like the Lions, though, and I really wish they weren't playing the 49ers. But I think the 49ers are going to win. I think it will be really close. I do think it's going to be a really good game. But it's just going to come down. I think the is just another. He's a different type of guy. I mean, he's been that way since high school. He was a standout in high school, best player on the field. Went to college, he was the best player on the field, and now he's in the NFL, and he's still continuing to be the best player on the field most of the time. So I just can't look past that, and they still have a really good defense. So I'm going to go with the 49ers. Not much reason except for I just think they're going to win the game, and I think they have a better roster. It's going to get them through again.
I'm going to probably have to back up what John Adams saying here. I've thought the whole time, even I slightly altered my opinion some after seeing the Ravens go in and beat the 49ers in the regular season, but even then I still kind of think the 49ers have the best roster, and I think Kyle Shanahan's a really elite coach. I do think I'd probably take probably Detroit. I was taking the line. 7 is a pretty generous line, and I agree with Jay that I think it'll be a close game. One couple of key things to me that stands out, and I do think it kind of tips the scale somewhat back in the Lions' favors. I actually think it's a fairly decent matchup for them. The Lions have the second best run defense in the NFL, but are like absolutely atrocious in the passing game, which I think is key because you don't stand a chance if you can't stop the run against San Francisco, because McCaffrey's a beast, the O-line's good, and if you let him run ragged, you stand no shot. So I think that the fact that I think that they're one of the few teams that can force Brock Purdy to have to win the game. And so I think that does give them a chance because Purdy's not been super consistent recently. And so I do like the fact that they can do that. I also think, especially as of now, it's not clear if Debo is going to be able to play. And so if you combine their run defense with the possibility of Debo missing, I think if I'm not mistaken, they're 8-9 without Debo, and something super impressive with them. It's like they've turned the ball over more. They average like 3 or 4 points less a game. Anyways, he's been a huge contributing factor to their success. And so if he doesn't play, I would say that's a huge factor. I think that it'll kind of come down to whose quarterback steps up. I'd say both of these guys, while they've been really good, there's a lot of questions on how elite either of these guys are. And I would like to take a moment to say how incredible that it is that Jared Goff was essentially a salary cap dump 2 or 3 years ago to pretty much unquestionably the worst franchise in the NFL. And everybody pretty much discarded him because he went from a future Hall of Fame coach probably in McVay and a team that was really talented to a horrible team. And everybody just kind of assumed that he would wash. And it's wild to think that he's a game away from the Super Bowl now, which is just crazy in my opinion.
I'm also going to back all two of you guys. So it'll be a clean sweep here with the 49ers winning. I do agree with you guys as well that it will also be a close game. I do think that, it does play into the Lions' hands that the Lions don't really have anything to lose. I mean, they've accomplished their goals of what they needed to do this season, essentially. Yeah, everybody wants to win the Super Bowl, and that's always the main goal. But if you're looking at the Lions, right, as Jon-Mical said, I think arguably the worst NFL franchise. Like, who wants to go to the Lions? They won playoff game. They won multiple playoff games. They are in the NFC Championship game. They're competing for a Super Bowl for the first time in 32 years. I mean, this is huge for them, and they got nothing to lose but to go out there and play for their city, play for their team, play for the organization. And I think the 49ers have everything. I mean, they're the one seed. They arguably have had the easiest path to the Super Bowl. I mean, you played the Packers in the first round. That's a 7 seed. You played the Lions. That's a 3rd seed. You're not playing the Cowboys. You're not playing the 5th seed, 4th seed from or like Philadelphia. A lot of people assume to be Philly. Uh, so I think there's a lot of pressure on the 49ers to actually perform, especially after the shaky start last week. I mean, again, I think they were lucky. Do I think the 49ers are capable of getting to the Super Bowl? Yes. I think it'll be a little tough. I do think they'll get it done. But I think the 49ers have like all the pressure in the world to actually perform this weekend rather than the Lions.
The biggest thing for the Lions is to force 1 or 2 turnovers, make Brock Purdy feel really uncomfortable, and stop the run game. If you can do that, you can beat the 49ers, I think. I mean, if you can keep Christian McCaffrey under 50, 60 yards, maybe keep him to 1 touchdown, and then keep him under 30 on the receiving end, I mean, you're forcing Brock Purdy to find other playmakers.
So
Yeah. One last thing I would like to add. Well, I agree with what all y'all said about Brock, and I think that there's certainly some concerns there. He did, if I was a 49ers fan, if there was one thing that I would want to look to be encouraged on is the pressure did not seem to get to him when it came to the last drive. He looked genuinely really good that last drive. He was 6 for 7, and his only incompletion actually was a George Kittle drop. He was wide open for a first down. I thought it was going to hurt him, but he ended up not. Next play, he made a good throw. And specifically, there was a 3rd down throw to Ayuk that was a dime. And if he doesn't get that, there's no telling if they end up completing the drive. So I agree with what y'all said for sure. I would be encouraged as a fan to see that he didn't just completely fold. I think it would have been easy to make a mistake there, but that was by far his best drive. Every throw was on time. He didn't make any rush decisions. He didn't look like the pressure was getting to him.
yeah. Another good game is the Chiefs versus the Ravens. So, John Adam, what's going to go down? Who's going to win? By how much?
I said this last week, and I was wrong. And I'm sorry, Bills fans, because I really wanted Taylor Swift and her boy to go down. And I'm going to say it again because I'm never going to pull for the Chiefs probably ever again as long as they're a thing or she's there or whatever. Because I'm sick and tired of seeing her in the stands or in the press box, the box or whatever, the private suite that she gets to sit in. The best thing about it was his brother, Jason.
I was about to say Jason was the best thing.
Yeah, thank you for being there. But that's the only – I mean, I love Jason, and, yeah, what they do on their podcast is hilarious. But I'm going to go with Baltimore. I think they proved a lot. I said this against the Texans. They've obviously been proving that throughout the season. They dismantled the 49ers, it looked like. I'm not going to say that would happen again, but that game showed a lot in itself as well, and what Lamar can bring to the table in a big game like that against, honestly, somebody you'll probably end up facing. But I'm going to go with the Ravens.
So I'm probably going to diverge a little bit here. I know. I can see the heads and the faces. Everybody is disagreeing with me here, and I'm not even sure if this is the result I want necessarily. But there's just something different about the Chiefs in the playoffs specifically with Mahomes' ability to dial it up and Andy Reid's coaching prowess. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be. At one time, I would have thought the roster gap was just too much, but after watching them play the Bills, I don't know. I think I lean towards the Chiefs now. One thing that I think is super underrated in this, and that it's not that we've been focusing so much. Everybody's focusing on the quarterbacks in this matchup. They're focusing on Lamar Jackson, who's probably going to win his 2nd MVP, although I think he's been super fortunate that this quarterback crop has been really subpar because I don't think this has been quite an MVP season. And then you obviously got Mahomes, who's won 2 MVPs himself. Is the fact that the truth be told is both of these teams are built off of defense. And not saying that their offenses aren't good, but if you look at their points per games, I believe they're both 1 and 2 in points per games in the NFL. And those have been what have built their defense, especially the Chiefs. The Ravens have been just about as proficient on offense, but the Chiefs especially, everybody obviously kind of sees Mahomes, and Mahomes has been a huge part of their success, especially in previous years. But this team's a little bit different. They're a more complete team, in my opinion. The biggest question will be if they can get enough production from the receiving core, and that's probably my biggest concern with the Chiefs. I will say one matchup that I do think favors Baltimore is the fact that the Chiefs, what they're really, really elite at is pass defense and rushing the passer. Both things that I think Baltimore handles well, and that Baltimore, generally speaking, you want to try to stop the run game for them. That's where their offense flows and goes. If you can get Lamar to be a pocket passer, most people, even though he's a really good passer, don't get me wrong, that's kind of the goal for most teams, is to keep him in the pocket and keep the run game contained. And the Chiefs, even though they have a really elite defense, they actually rate middle to even a little bit below average against the run. And so I think that could be an exploitable matchup for Baltimore. I think it's going to be a really close game. I feel more strongly about the San Francisco game. This game, I truly think is a coin flip. I'm going to lean with the experience here. I'm going to say like 27-23, the Chiefs end up pulling it out.
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with you. I'm going to go for the Ravens. I'm not rooting for the Chiefs. I would love to see everybody at this university cry when the Chiefs lose on Sunday. But you bring up great points. I mean, if the Chiefs do end up winning, it's the same question that we had when we were talking about Michigan versus Alabama with Milroe. Can you take away Lamar's legs? Can you take away Milroe's legs? And, ultimately they stopped them. But, I think when it comes to Lamar, and you brought it up, it's the run. Lamar likes to scramble, and he does it so effortlessly. And yeah, I think if you try and make him pass like 30 to 40 times, and you limit his ability to run and get at least 100 yards or almost close near to 100 yards, you're going to end up probably winning the game. I agree with this one being a coin flip. I'm going to go with the Ravens because I don't want to see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I don't want to see all that publicity with Taylor Swift. Yeah, it brings clicks to the NFL, and I'm sure Roger Goodell's going to try and rig it for the Chiefs. But I'm going to go with the Ravens. That's going to be a crazy weekend. Hopefully, we have two great matchups. Hopefully, me and John are correct and Jon-Mical's wrong. But I'm going to put you on the spot, Jon-Mical. Who you got winning the Super Bowl?
Man, it's been tough because the playoffs haven't gone exactly as I expected, to be honest.
Hey man, this is how it feels to have to make a prediction and then get made fun of if it's wrong by like a long
shot. You have the 49ers versus the Chiefs in your prediction, so who wins?
I'm going to have to go with the 49ers.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jon-Mical, for joining us on this week's segment on NFL.
All right, I appreciate y'all guys having me. It was fun.
Yeah, man. Thank you for joining.
All right, y'all have a good one.
So, moving on, we have a little bit of a little newer scheduling format moving on. We're going to do a little bit of recapping on some sports from around the world. So, around the world time. Woo!
Around the world. Around the world. Around the world. Around the world.
It's our team song. But starting off, we're going to have a little NBA recap. We're a little bit more than halfway through the season. So, Shy, I think, is cooking right now. My Thunder are cooking. First in the West for the first time since 2014. Thunder up, baby. We're looking good. John Adam, who you got winning the finals? I mean, I know we're like halfway through the season, whatever, but like, who's looking like who's got winning the finals?
All right, so I don't know, man. I don't want to do this to Lucas because it does like kind of. I've never been a super big Boston Celtic fan, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
I do think they've got the talent to do it. I think they've got to be a top contender. I know that they lost to the Denver Nuggets last week in a really, really good game.
Yeah.
And Joe, he's playing at a different level. It's insane that the dude
good. He's
shows up. he shows up like it's just, we're just gonna get
Another
this over
day.
with so I can actually go home.
I'm gonna go home and play with my horses. I'll be back, Bella. Don't worry. I got an NBA game. I'll be right back.
And he just shows up, drops 40, and leaves. Like it's just another thing for him. But they're another team I would have up there. Probably, one of those two. OKC's having a good year, so I will give you credit to that. They've got talent that I think they've kind of missed out on. They went through the whole Kevin Durant and James Harden and Russell Westbrook stage and couldn't get it done with them. But obviously, seeing how they are now, you probably wouldn't have wanted them on the same team then either. Each one of them wants to hold the ball, so it's kind of that situation. I would probably say it's between Denver and the Boston Celtics. I really do.
Yeah.
I think they are both complete teams. I think they're unselfish with the care of the basketball. I don't think they care who gets the buckets when they get the bucket. Now, some of the same players always get the buckets, but that's going to happen when you're a star player. You're going to touch the ball. You're going to get your minutes. They're both coached really well, and I don't know, man. They always seem to put up a good fight against the games they're supposed to put up good fights with, and I think man. I don't know who I would pick between the two, but I'm going to go with Boston just because they always seem to be there and just can't get it done. We'll check back on this on our next one or whatever, or whenever we talk about it again, about who he thinks is going to win. But I'm going to go with Boston just so the fans over there can be happy, so Lucas can be happy with me. I care about what Lucas thinks about me. And so I'm going to hopefully be correct in that prediction, and it'll go down in history as a great prediction if it's correct. Who do you have?
Yeah, so obviously I want to say the Thunder. So, my biased ways, I'm going to say the Thunder are going to win it all, but in realistic ways, I really do think it's going to probably be an NBA Finals rematch of last year. I think it's going to be a rematch again, and I do think the Celtics are probably going to go on top. I mean, I look at the East, and I really don't see any competition. I look at the West, and I see, the Timberwolves and the Thunder and the Nuggets and even the Clippers are all battling for the one seed. But if you look at experience and how deep the rosters are, I mean, the Nuggets have it. So I think the Celtics and the Nuggets will play again in the finals, and I have the Celtics coming on top again. So big news in the NBA. Just we'll fire off. I think Doc Rivers, right, is now the coach of the Bucks.
Yes.
Yeah, big moves there the other day, right? That was that was unexpected. That was crazy.
Yeah.
And then the Pistons are terrible, and the Spurs are terrible. And name tonight, LeBron and Giannis are All-Star game captains. So, and if you want to check out the rosters, you can look that up yourselves on ESPN or NBA, wherever you get your news.
So I actually have something written down about that. Okay, so did you see that Steph is out of the starting lineup? Do you know how crazy that is?
Coming off the bench?
Like, he's not starting.
Yeah, but is he still on the roster?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
I just saw the starting lineups, and I just noticed he wasn't on there, and that's like the first time since I can even remember, ever since he's been in the league.
When was the last time Steph wasn't in the All-Star game?
Yeah, well, I think he's going to make the All-Star game. And then another kind of breaking news thing that happened. So Teddy Rozier went to the Heat in a trade, and Charlotte got Kyle Lowry and a first-round pick in that. I know that Kyle Lowry had been kind of, he's been a big – he was obviously a Toronto guy. He kind of shines in the playoffs. Like, he kind of goes unnoticed throughout the season and then seems to pick it up and starts becoming a bucket
in the playoffs. Yeah.
He's a bucket in the playoffs, man. And so I think the fact that the Heat got him, that was huge for the Heat. Also, Golden State's their guy passed away. Rip to him.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to Miller.
Coach.
Yeah. They did a little honorary thing or whatever their first game back. But unfortunate.
Well, moving around the world of sports again to college basketball. I feel like for the last couple of weeks we've just been seeing upsets. I don't know if it's me, but I feel like there's a lot more upsets this year than previous years. Am I wrong? I
No,
don't
I mean,
know. I don't
every
know.
week there seems to be one.
I mean, Auburn lost at Bama yesterday, and that's a top 10 loss again. So,
Yep.
we're averaging one like every week.
Yep.
Big 12 is crazy deep. Anyone looks good to win the title. So, with that being said, who's in your Final Four? Give me your Final Four teams and your winner, man. Give me your Final Four. On the
All
spot,
right.
give me your Final Four. All right, I think I know who your champion is.
Yeah, you do. So I can't remember exactly who I said the first week we kind of gave our Final Four predictions. Um, so hurt me if I'm completely off. I can't remember, but for this one, okay, I'm gonna still put Kansas in the Final Four. I still think they've got what it takes to be in the Final
Thank
Four.
you.
But at the same time, I'm gonna put my North Carolina Tar Heels. They are on a 9-game win streak. They're ranked number 3. They're playing really good. They've been playing really good. I think Coach Davis is. I mean, the history of North Carolina is tough to be the head coach for, and to continue the success that was already previously built. That's hard for anybody to come into that situation. Obviously, he'd been there already
Yeah.
and got promoted to that head coaching job, but I think he's done a really good job filling in the shoes as a head coach. And so I'm going to have Kansas, North Carolina. Now, the other two are a toss-up for me. I think I had Marquette and FAU. I think those are my other two. Or was it Gonzaga? Because I gave a fifth one. I couldn't decide
Yeah.
on a
I think your
four.
fifth one was FAU.
Yeah. I still think FAU is a really good team. I think they can still shine. I don't know if they're necessarily Final Four caliber. Um, Man, I don't know. I don't
Who's
know.
gonna win it all?
North Carolina. North Carolina is going to
Yeah, that's
beat
what I thought.
KU in the final again. Well, not
Ah.
again, but not again. But hey, we got to tell them. Let's just go ahead and let them know about our little bet that we had whenever they played each other. So whenever you and North Carolina met in the final, me and Jacob made a little bet, and we might again this year. So look out for that if that did happen again. But we've done bets throughout all of our years of being friends, and we love to do that type of crap. But for that one, we did where if North Carolina lost, which they ultimately did, I would have to get a perm, and so I got a perm. Um, it lasted for about 6 months. And Jacob got to be, excited and tell everybody, and everybody in our group chat that we've got, they all knew the stakes and they knew what was on the line. And so I got a lot of crap for North Carolina losing and then having to get a perm and stuff. And people around me noticed, and it was embarrassing having to tell them that I lost to my friend and a bet that we made about winning the college
I think it's
basketball
awesome.
championship.
I see this as an absolute win. It was a win-win in every part. I mean, come on now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It wasn't good for me considering that we melted in the second half, but uh I got to give credit where credit's due. Kansas is a great basketball school. So is North Carolina. Blue Bloods, baby. But see a rematch, and I would love to make another bet. And for everybody who listens, you can maybe expect something in the future if that happens.
My Final Four teams will be UConn, Purdue, North Carolina, and KU. With KU coming out on top against UNC, again, a rematch. Who knows if they'll make it again, but give me the Jayhawks, rock chalk.
Man. Hey, here's the thing. So, like, our name is Terrible Takes, and we both just gave both of our teams winning ultimately and playing each other. If
Yes.
that's not the most
Terrible
biased
take.
thing anybody's ever heard,
Hey.
I mean, it wouldn't be Terrible Takes without that, right?
Hey, I went 2 of 6 for playoff predictions. I live each week carrying the name, so we always make terrible takes.
And what does
But
Holden say? Our unbiased opinion? Is that what he
our
says?
unbiased opinion.
Yeah, that's not biased at all.
Yeah, this is completely unbiased. This is the most real analysis. I mean, this is the realest you're ever gonna get. Moving around another time around the globe. Quick little soccer recap. We've got the African Cup of Nations currently, the AFCON. Big surprise is Ghana got knocked out of the group stage, and Senegal looks very, very good. The Asian Cup is also going on, and Tajikistan, Syria, Palestine, and Indonesia are all in the round of 16 for the first time. The FA Cup is this weekend. You don't know what that is? It's only English soccer teams compete in this tournament. And the most notable game this week is John Adams' Manchester City versus Tottenham. I'm sure Man City will get that dub. Ronaldo got injured, and so they canceled their game against Inter Miami because, Ronaldo is a Messi hater, and Ronaldo will always be below Messi regardless. We all know that when Ronaldo plays Messi, it's his World Cup game. The Copa del Rey in Spanish is currently happening. Athletic Bilbao knocked off Barcelona in the quarterfinals. Sweet! And then another thing, shout out to Bayern Leverkusen in the Bundesliga. That's the German first league in Germany. They're currently atop of the Bundesliga table with 0 losses, with 18 games played, which is more than halfway. So they're looking to dethrone Bayern Munich, who's won the league like 14 straight times, which is impressive in itself. So it's my soccer recap. And then finally, a complete 360 around the globe. John Adam, take it away with your sport, man. Golf.
All right, all right. Um, so this is something that I've been looking forward to, and I know that on our other segment, 318 that we'll be releasing in the next month or so, we will. I played golf in high school, and I got to play with some really cool guys. Not only from my team, but also from teams that you play with or against. And they're from our area. And so be on the lookout for possibly some golfers on that to kind of get a dive into what it looks like to be a college golfer. But anyway, some news in the professional world of golf. Not necessarily professional if you're Nick Dunlap, who was technically not a professional, but playing in a professional tournament. He is from the University of Alabama. Roll Tide, baby. He technically is still enrolled, but as of today, after his hang on, I gotta pause. Wow, look at that swing. Oh, that's you may not be pro, but if you went and played in a tournament tomorrow and won it, you could be.
Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
On
Nick
roids.
Dunlap won the American Express this past weekend, and he was only 20 years old, so that's kind of crazy to think about. It was the first time since 1991 that an amateur has won a tournament, and it was like 1910 when the last amateur this young won one or something like that. I can't remember the exact.
Crazy, like how long ago it's been since an amateur went on to play a tournament and ended up winning it, because there was so much talent also on the field. I think he just went unnoticed, and he had a crazy weekend, obviously. I'll kind of give like a little recap of what happened to kind of prove like how great he actually ended up playing. Mainly
He doubled on par 4 seventh, which actually dropped him out of the lead. And so as an amateur golfer, you're obviously, for one, probably not supposed to be in a situation where you have a lead. It's not really known to have a lead. And if you are, you're getting a lot of attention. Michael Block, if you're into golf and have been in the world of sports for golf, you know that his situation last year got him a lot of spotlight. He didn't even win the thing. But for Nick, doubling that, losing his lead, and then birding the very next hole. So like all the pressure that had been built on him for losing the lead, it's like it didn't affect him. It didn't phase him at all. And he was able to birdie the next hole. Sam Burns, Louisiana boy, actually got to go to like one of his things at Squire Creek if you are in that area of Shudrint. And he's a really cool dude. But he unfortunately was like tied with him, and he ended up hitting it in the water on the 17th hole, which took him out of contention. pushed him far enough. He made a double, and so he was out of contention. But it helped Nick Dunlap out, whereas he was now in the lead. Christian Bezudenhout, it's a fun name to say, birdie number 18 to actually tie for the lead going into the clubhouse, and Nick Dunlap was able to make a 6-foot birdie putt on the 18th to actually ultimately win it. And so just like the nerves of steel that guy has to kind of have the end round that he had and still manage to win his first. As of today, he is now a pro. He obviously didn't get to win that money. It was like a $1.5 million purse for the winner. And so he doesn't get it because he was technically an amateur. He's not pro, but
That's cheat action, man. That's rigged.
He declined to play in this weekend's tournament, went back home to Alabama with his family and friends and teammates, celebrated, and then ultimately today he declared that he is now a pro. He gets 2 years on tour. He gets exempted to I think a major tournament and a couple other tournaments. I know for sure this one, the one that he won, the American Express, he gets exempted to. It's kind of weird how golf works and your tour card and stuff like that. For people who don't know, if you win a tournament, you get exempted to that tournament and then a couple other tournaments throughout the year. It's really hectic in the life of a golfer if you're not technically a pro and in the spotlight all the time. Talking about in the spotlight all the time, Tiger Woods and Rory are both now signed with TaylorMade, which for Tiger, it was 27 years that he was signed on contract with Nike. Kind of crazy how the time has come in 27 years, and now he's signing with TaylorMade, which he does play TaylorMade golf clubs. But supposedly, this is what I heard, that Tiger Woods and Rory are going to get $10 million a year just for being with TaylorMade. That was the contract. I don't know how long it is. I didn't see that, but I do know that, and that's a heck of a lot of money for some golfers who you don't even have to win. You can just sign on with TaylorMade and make $10 million a year. Don't even have to win a tournament if you don't want to. Yeah. But that's all I've got for golf. Obviously, I could go a lot deeper, but that's just some of the news that headlined this past weekend.
And we've traveled around the world. We are travelers.
Cheerio, mate.
Well, that wraps it up for this week's podcast. We appreciate all of you guys for listening and supporting us. We love all of the support. Make sure to check out our TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, all that great stuff. We're on it. There's a platform. We're on it. Terrible Steaks, Sports Talk, punch it in. We'll show up. We love all you guys. Thank you guys for watching and tuning in to this week's episode. We'll see you guys around.
Peace out.